Mr. Secretary, you're going through great lengths to argue that the new Title IX rule will not have an impact on athletics. Setting aside the absence of court decision preventing it, and setting aside the fact that athletics is printed over 30 times in the rule description, I have some very simple questions, straightforward questions. I'm just hoping I get some yes and no's on it. With energy put into Title IX rule changes, it's a 3-year effort. Can you assure us that your rules do not change protection of our girls that have had for over 50 years? Can you assure us that protecting biological girls from competing against genetically stronger, bigger, and faster biological men will not be considered a federal discrimination?
Thank you for the question, Congressman. You are referring to the athletics, am I right?
Yes.
Yeah, so that rule-making process is underway. We haven't...
Okay, really, it's...
We haven't finalized the rules.
Okay, so is it a possibility that this girls competing against boys or refusing to would be considered discrimination?
Is
that a possibility?
I'm here to discuss, what we're doing in education to help children. Proposed rules, whether
it's really a yes or no. I mean, it should be a yes or no. It's a bridge that we all know that you're trying to get across. So is this something that you're looking at doing right now? Possibility?
I don't want to comment on a proposed rule that we haven't finalized yet.
Okay.
We have over 140,000.
Thank you. Let me just continue then. Mr. Secretary, you're in a very unique position to impact the lives, futures, and fortunes of millions of female athletes. Americans on both sides of this debate need to know how deep your commitment is. Would you force your daughter to undress in the bathroom with boys who are also undressing?
I am not going to be commenting on athletics rules that we haven't proposed.
You can't say yes or no on that?
I'd be happy to talk about a Title IX.
If your daughter was reported she felt uncomfortable in a boy's presence in a bathroom or locker room, would that be considered by your administration discrimination or bigotry?
As an educator for over 25 years.
You can't say yes or no to that?
I'd love to respond to your question, sir.
Okay, so yes or no. Would it be considered discrimination? She did not want that to happen.
As an educator for over 25 years, we have had the responsibility...
Okay, all right. I don't have but a few minutes here. Girls have now entered into contact sports of boxing and wrestling. Would you allow your daughter to physically fight and get beat up by a boy who called himself a girl? Yes or no?
Be happy to, once we finalize our regulations on Title IX athletics, to come back and have a conversation with you.
Let me just read this real quick. There's a Cherokee proverb that says, "A man's highest calling is to protect women, so she is free to walk the earth unharmed." I'll say this, Mr. Secretary, before I go on to this next topic. With all due respect, I pray that our country will never, ever have the vision that your policies are now driving us toward in terms of manhood. It's a vision that teaches our boys that harming girls is no big deal. I pray that we remain a country that produces overwhelmingly mass majorities of men who feel the way I do about my girls. I will give my life in a heartbeat for my girls. And the blessings I have is they have no doubts about that. There are millions of men and women across this country that do not have faith, do not have trust in you protecting our girls because of policies you can't say yes or no to. By the way, those are not very hard questions as a father. It's either yes or no, and you could not answer that. Okay, I'm going to switch pages real quick. At the Senate Appropriation Committee hearing last week, you stated that there's an active investigation at Columbia University, but your staff is not on site. As protests and harassment of Jewish students continue at Columbia University, this is an opportunity for the Office of Civil Rights to see firsthand what is occurring and how Columbia is failing to protect the rights of its students. You implied earlier that you were running out of funds. I have a hard time believing the Department of Education is broke. I think it's more of a priority. Is there a reason why that this has not been happening on these campuses? They've not had a presence, and if it had been Black Americans dealing with KKK bigots, would you have the same sense of presence or priorities?
Thank you for the question. Let me tell you, I'm a father, but you cannot pick and choose which students you want to protect.
You cannot choose what?
You cannot pick and choose which students you want to protect. As Secretary of Education, it's my responsibility.
I'm sorry, I missed that. You cannot choose
all students.
I'm sorry, as a father, you cannot choose what? I'm sorry, I'm not this.
Which students you want to protect?
We protect all of them, particularly our women, right?
Including our LGBTQ students, sir.
Okay, so if, in other words, you're choosing those students over women, I'm talking about the boys versus girls. That's a very simple question there.
The new
And there's a
Title IX,
difference.
the new Title IX regulations increase protections to all students and increase protections for women.
This is why American parents are really concerned about this administration. You cannot answer a basic question that makes common sense.
All
right?
means all, sir.
I'll say this, I know how I would protect my girls, and it seems, all right, I'll leave with that.